Joe, good morning to you. So Hallie Biden, a key witness in this case, what will she have to offer in her testimony?
Good morning, Marni. So Hallie is the central figure in a lot of the prosecution's case here. Remember, she is not just Beau Biden's widow, but as you mentioned, she struck up a romantic relationship with Hunter. They also used drugs like crack cocaine together. So the prosecution's case, talking about his drug use and the gun situation, she is at the heart of both of those. She's able to talk about using together. They both tried many times to get clean together. She is also the person, Marni, who found Hunter Biden's gun in his car, threw it away, and had to deal first in the family with the law enforcement repercussions of that decision. She is central to this story. So we've already heard a number of text message exchanges between Hallie and Hunter that have been read out loud. There are going to be a couple of those that, again, will come up today that'll be central. And I want to just point to one exchange. This is the moment when Hunter realized that Hallie had thrown his gun away. And he texted her saying, "The effing FBI, Hallie, it's hard to believe anyone is that stupid. What's the fault here, Hallie, that you speak of? Owning a gun that's in a locked car hidden on another property? You say I invaded your privacy. What more can I do than come back to you to try again? And you do this. Who in their right mind would trust you, would help me get sober?" And then he asks, "Do you want me dead?" She responds, "I'm sorry, I just want you safe. That was not safe, and it was open, unlocked, and windows down, and the kids search your car." So really heavy material there, right? And details that are pretty salacious. Those are the kinds of things that we are going to see come up again and again. Now, in their text exchanges, you could tell at times they were frustrated with each other. They were angry with each other. There was also real affection between the two based on their text messages, often referring to each other as "my love." We've seen that as well. So that is going to be very interesting testimony once we get it. We should mention also, Marni, you talked about off the top, the prosecution says they believe they might be able to wrap up their case today. That may be wishful thinking. They say they've got 6 more witnesses that they want to call to the stand, and they think they could finish by today. But we're going to find out here in short time whether they can actually accomplish that.
All right. So what are we expecting, Joe, from the defense? What's their argument in all this?
Their argument is sort of twofold. We've been talking about how they are trying to paint Hunter as someone who truly did not consider himself to be a drug user at the time that he signed this gun form. He fully admits he had a history of drugs. He had relapses before that moment and after that moment. But his attorneys are saying in that actual moment, in those few days when he bought this gun and checked a box saying, "I am not currently a drug user," they say that was honest. He was on the road to recovery in his own mind and then ended up relapsing later on. They're also trying to paint Hunter Biden as having an alcohol problem. Why would they do that? Because there are a lot of exchanges where he himself tells people, including Hallie, "I am an addict." And if he's admitting that he's a drug addict and then signed the gun form, there goes their case. But they're trying to show he was actually a heavy drinker as well. When he refers to himself as an addict in that moment, he could be talking about his alcohol addiction. Now, again, that may be a tough case for the jury to buy, but that is the heart of the defense, and they're going to continue along that course.
Hunter Biden, Joe, has spoken publicly about his struggles with addiction. Do we expect he will take the stand in his own defense?
We don't know yet whether he's going to take the stand. And actually, yesterday, the judge did say at the very end of the day that the defense is going to have to, at some point soon, meaning today, provide their witness list. So we may find out today whether Hunter takes the stand. Certainly, it would be interesting. Now, whether he does or not, much of the evidence in this case come from Hunter's own words, because you said he's been very open. He's written a book about his struggles. A lot of the prosecution's opening day, their statements were basically excerpts from Hunter's own book. So whether he testifies again, his voice and his words have already been a crucial part of the prosecution's case anyway.
About being in front of that jury, speaking directly to them, though. We'll see. It could be pivotal. Joe Khalil in Delaware. Joe, thanks. We'll come back to you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.